Welcome back to Drunk Storytime with Quefish. I am Quefish. I have been drinking. I am currently drinking out of Mummy's sippy cup, and I'm drinking Irish cream. And the occasional water because my mouth gets dry. So, I have a new, and I say new, you know, as though this is anything different. This is another group of stories. This is under the title of Good Intentions by Summer of Spock. And if you don't know Summer of Spock, you should. So, but this is their crack story. So, each chapter is different crack film. So we are going to do chapters 1 and 2. They're short, so don't worry. So, Good Intentions by Summer of Spock. The summary is prompt fills, mostly crack. Each chapter will include tags in the chapter notes. This is explicit. It is not for children's adult content. So this is chapter 1, Autosnellatio. The tags for this particular chapter in the notes include masturbation, half snake Crowley, snake, he is a snack, let's just face it. Snake anatomy, Crowley has a vulva, Crowley has a penis, Crowley has hemipenes. I have gone online to try to figure out how to pronounce that word, Hemipenes, and there have been, I believe that I looked at 4 or 5 videos with that word, and they all pronounced it differently. So I have decided that I am pronouncing it hemipenes. If you do not like it, let me know. I'm probably not going to change because that's how I say it now. Sorry. Autosnellatio. Crowley is bored. Last time he was this bored, he came up with the whole M25 thing, but that's not on the table. He's not working anymore. He could go outside, immune to disease and all, but he's seen enough plagues to know that people follow each other's example. See that bloke outside? Must be okay to go outside then. So Crowley is hunkering down. He hates it. He can only watch so much TV before he feels like he's vibrating. He's cleaned his entire flat twice, miracling grime just for the excuse to scrub something down. There's always a point in Crowley's boredom when he begins to get ideas. A very particular set of ideas. The sort of ideas that start up a delicious ache in his belly and that usually ends with his hands down his pants. He generally tries to push those ideas away because inevitably they tend towards a certain being who he'd rather not look in the face after wanking to the idea of him giving Crowley a suck job with his pretty little mouth. Except he won't have to look Aziraphale in the face. They're in lockdown. He has plenty of time to indulge and then wipe the mental slate clean, so to speak. He can masturbate to his heart's content. And let's face it, who of us aren't right now? So he does. He starts with a cock because that's what he usually has. He keeps his hands slick and lets himself think about pudgy fingers and soft white hair until he comes with a groan over his belly. He feels a small spike of shame about the whole thing, but then looks at the clock and realizes he's spent a whole 30 minutes not thinking about being stuck in his flat. That's very promising. After that, he switches out his genitals because he doesn't want to deal with the refractory period or the constant mess. It's much easier to jam 2 or 3 fingers inside himself while he works furiously over his clit. And it turns out masturbating with a vagina takes longer, and the clock reads another hour down. Perfect. He miracles sex toys, vibrators, dildos, anal beads, and goes to fucking town. It's only when he's in his bed, using a double-ended U-shaped dildo to fuck in and out of his vagina and ass simultaneously, that he comes so hard, his cunt gushes over his hands and his sheets. He groans. It felt good, but the whole point of the thing was to keep the mess down. No point wasting miracles just to clean up and do it all over again. Then, Crowley has an idea. He's flexible. If he had a cock, he could potentially get it in his mouth. No mess to clean up if he swallows it. Rather enamored of the idea, he miracles the bed clean and switches back to a cock before settling up against the pillows. He strokes himself to hardness and then tries to curl his spine forward. He tries placing his feet flat on the bed. He lays on his back and rolls his hips up and back so his feet are over his head. In that position, he can lick the tip, but it's not enough, and it's damned uncomfortable. He tries to do it in a chair, on the ceiling, standing up, on the floor. Nothing works. Despite his snake heritage, he's not flexible enough. Snake heritage. Now that's an idea. Without even thinking, he transforms his lower half into a tail. Perfect. He knows his genitals are tucked away at the bottom of his tail, but like this, he can wind his tail up his body until his mouth is right by his cloaca. He settles on his back on the bed and does exactly that. He looks at his red belly, feeling very pleased at his creativity, before he licks all over his cloaca, forcing his hemipenes to unfurl. They're fleshy, little, wet mounds, and they've always reminded Crowley a bit of fuzzy mushrooms. Not totally sexy, but that's not what he's there for. He's here to prove he can suck himself off, and he'll be damn blessed if he can't do it. He opens his mouth wide and sucks them both into his mouth, tonguing the place where they separate. It makes his whole body tingle, and he laps at the ooze that... Oh, ooze is such a gaggy word. I'm sorry. He laps at the ooze that drips from both of them. It tastes quite sweet, very different than his human spend. He suckles on the left and then the right, feeling arousal tighten in his belly. He's close. He just needs a little imagery to finish off. What if it were Aziraphale sucking him off like this? He could tighten his tail around that lush body, press his cocks into that mouth until he's choking on them, until spit joins his leaking flesh. He fucks into his own mouth, stretching his lips and making his throat grow tight. His tail coils, and he feels his right penis come, oozing hot and thick over his lips and dripping down his chin. He gags as it floods his throat, and the contraction makes his left cock jerk, joining the first as it spills and spills. He can't swallow anymore, so he pulls off, watching the clear ooze pool on his tail and drip off onto the sheets. messy. What would it be like if he used his snake mouth? Could he swallow more? His teeth are sort of ribbed and his tongue all flickery. That could feel very good. He's just about to transform his top half when he realizes what he's doing. He can't go full snake. If he goes full snake, it will take him days to change back. He learned that lesson ages ago. Then again, if he transforms entirely, changing back will at least give him something to do. And he'll have all sorts of new ways to masturbate. Oh, God. That was chapter 1. Oh my God. That was such fantastic imagery. And he still made a mess. Poor guy. Poor demon. I just hate that. Oh, this won't make a mess. Oh, shit, it made a mess. So this is chapter 2 of Good Intentions by Summerofspock. I have not read this one. This one's a cold read. After the first one, I actually reached out to Summerofspock through the comments and asked if I could read. And when they said I could, at that point I was like, no, gotta cold read the rest, because that's kind of my shtick. Being drunk and cold reading, that's my deal. So, chapter 2, Umbrella. The tags for this one are Crowley has a vulva, object insertion, Dowling era. Aziraphale hiked up Crowley's skirt and put his hands between his legs, making Crowley squirm. Though, if it gets you this worked up, I'll flirt with every human in England. And the non-humans, too. Aziraphale frowned and lifted Crowley onto the sideboard, pressing between his legs and kissing him again. His hand worked in lovely circles, and then Aziraphale dropped to his knees to drag off his knickers. Good. Right for the tongue action, then. Then there was one swipe of tongue, but it wasn't enough. Maybe Aziraphale was in the mood to punish him, withholding tongue until Crowley begged. Or maybe use his tongue first. Before Crowley could offer, something hard and unforgiving was pressing against him. It caught for a second, the shape slightly sharp and uneven. Crowley's eyes shot open. What in Satan's... Aziraphale smirked up at him, just as the rest of the parrot head of the umbrella slipped inside him. It was that sort of night then. Okay, so on one hand, the parrot head, I can see the parrot head from Mary Poppins talking, and she like had to stop him talking. And so on one hand I can see that, but on the other hand I'm like, well, at least he didn't open the umbrella inside. Which honestly, I mean, it could have gone that way. So that was chapters 1 and 2 by Summerofspock, Good Intentions. Gosh, I can't wait for more. Obviously I'm gonna have to wait for 3 and 4 to come out, so that way I can put them both in one. It is fantastic. I love the crack stories. They make me laugh so much. So, thank you for joining me, and I will see you in the next next video. Bye.